Hello friends, this is RedUnicorn playing Rimworld, and this is my guide on how to choose starting pawns. Or, to be more precise, how to choose the right mix of your starting pawns. Just for your information, I am only covering the specific traits of the pawns in this example. If you're more interested in which traits to look for in your starting colonists and which to avoid, I'd recommend you watch the ranking I did on traits for starting pawns. I'll put a link in the video description down below. What heavily influences how you choose your pawns is the starting scenario. If you're a new player, I'd really recommend the Crash Landed to get some experience. The Lost Tribe I recommend if you plan a playthrough using Psycasters, which is Rimworld language for wizards. So if you want to rely heavily on those, I'd recommend choosing the tribespeople because for them it's easier to get those psycasts. The Rich Explorer and Naked Brutality is really difficult. You only have one starting pawn. So I'm going to base this guide mostly on Crash Landed. I will say a few things on what to look for if you want to start a playthrough relying on Psycasters, and I will also say something about what to look for if you just choose one pawn, like Rich Explorer or Naked Brutality. I'm going to start with the pawn selection for the Crash Landed scenario. Now, after you choose your storyteller, generate the world, and found the tile you want to play on, you get a suggestion of 8 pawns. The character sheet of each pawn is presented the same way. You have a name, you have the age, you have the background story, which is interesting to read sometimes and which will have influence on skills and on capabilities, sometimes also on traits. But for choosing the pawn, the background story is not that important. Here you have, it says if your pawn is incapable of something. Your traits in the middle, you have your skills, like what they're good at, what they're not good at. The skill level ranges from 0 to 20. 20 is the highest. And on the right you have the health and also relations. This team skills window shows the best skill of the 3 pawns that are currently under the selected area. When I start, I try to stick to 3 of those 8. I find that if you're lacking something, that just adds spice to the soup, so it's some fun to try to find out how to compensate for it. But if you're really a new player, don't be afraid to use the randomize button. You can randomize your pawns as often as you want until you find something you might find interesting. The first thing I'm looking for is the health, like health conditions. She's fine. I always start with checking each pawn's health. Everything that's healthy is fine. This one has a wake-up addiction. Addictions are really bad because it will take them a lot of time to get over it. So especially in the beginning, this pawn could be having a lot of mental breaks and not being a good help at all. And if you only have 3 pawns, you really do not want this. So everything that has an addiction, I pull down to my list. Then the next one would be this one. Painful scars. Scars in general are not that bad, but painful scars means that they will often have a mood debuff. That means that they are harder to keep happy. That's a judgment call if the rest of the pawn compensates for minor health problems. This one I keep for now. This is okay for health-wise. So all of those are okay health-wise. Itchy is also a little bit of pain. It's not as bad as painful. So for health reasons, I would just not select this character. Next is age. Pawns or colonists tend to develop some problems. If they get older, they might get a bad back, which will drastically reduce their movement speed. So if somebody's, well, let's say above 60, I'm also putting them to the bottom of the list, but this is not the case here. Next, I start to actually take a look at the skill set. A lot of people look at the incapabilities first, but I always find that as long as you have one pawn capable of something, it's not that bad if the other two or one aren't. Generally speaking though, for example, if you have a starter group and 2 of the 3 people are incapable of medical tending, that would be something I'd be really careful about picking. Now, this woman has a 9 in melee, 7 in cooking is quite okay, and an 11 in intellectual. But the thing that I'm looking is not actually the skills. It's not if there's a 1 or a 2 or an 11. The first thing I'm looking is the passions. Those flames are, for me, highly important. They tell you how quickly people are able to learn something. Let me choose a pawn who has like one flame so I can demonstrate that better. Like for example our Masaru here. If they have no flames, no passions for a task, they learn a lot slower than if they have a minor passion or even if they have a burning passion. You can see here that he learns at 150%, the minor passion learns at 100%, and the no passion at all learns at 35% learning speed. This one flame means that for me, I'd pick somebody with a 4 in cooking with 1 passion over somebody like this one with a 7 in cooking and no passion. Because in the end, after you play for a few days, weeks, this one with 4 cooking will improve their skill a lot faster than the one with the 0 passions. The second reason why those passions are very important to look out for is that people in Rimworld, if they are not happy, tend to break down. They have mental breaks, which can range to a minor break, I'm hiding in my room because I ate without a table, way over to I'm going berserk and going to kill the next person I see because somebody insulted me. So in general you want to avoid people having a mental break. This means that you want them to do tasks they are happy with. For example, this one, he has a double passion and intellectual, and he's even really good at it too. But because he's a double passion, if you have him on research all day long, he's going to have a permanent mood boost of plus 15 for doing a task he really has a high passion for. If you put him on mining, where he has 1 passion, he will have a plus 8 a permanent mood boost for doing something he has a minor passion for. So look out for the flames, they are far more important than whether somebody has a 4 or an 8 or a 12. First thing I'm looking for is, are they good at fighting? I'd like to have one person who is actually good or at least has a passion for shooting, at best 2, and if you have the third one, a good melee fighter, well, that's just the greatest. Sometimes you don't have this choice, sometimes there's a pawn that's so good that you don't care about the rest. But I always try to have at least one good shooter. It would be better too. And the melee fighter, you can live without a good melee fighter, but it would help in combat, of course. So the next thing I'm doing is trying to find myself a good shooter and see if he's a good pawn in general. Like this one, he has a shooting of 7, he has the flame in mining, in cooking, in medical. Medical's very important, like this one's somebody, and intellectual. At this point, I do not care about the scars. I just check the incapabilities. Artistic, that's fine. He has enough things to do, doesn't need to be an artist. Ironwield is a great trait. You will break down a lot slower, and nimble is also a fantastic trait. So this pawn for me is the first keeper. I'm going to put him at the top of the list. I don't care about the others. This one's a great pawn. First one on my list. Now let's check if there's anybody else who will cover the rest. What we still need. We need construction and planting and social. Do not underestimate social if you want to recruit pawns. If you capture pawns and want to recruit them, the social skill is something you should try to get in the beginning. It's not always possible. There are things that are more important, but especially if you play ideology and have some roles to fill, social is a lot more important now than it used to be in version 1.2, for example. So, do we have another who is a good shooter or who has a passion in shooting? This one has a passion in shooting. He's good in construction and mining. He has a 1 in cooking, but a passion. He's also not a bad pawn, so let's check out the traits. He's incapable of social, animals, and artistic. This one has a 0 in social, and this one is incapable of social, so if we pick this one, we would need to compensate this with the last pawn, which we can choose. Careful shooter, I personally do not like as much because they take ages to aim, but they are more accurate, so yeah, that's an okay trait. Great memory is fantastic. If people do not use a skill often, it will reduce their skill points here, and this reduction for him is a lot slower. And Night Owl is something, if you take it into account, he prefers to work during the night and sleep during the day. If you put the schedule, you can compensate for that, no problem. So this one is the second on my list. So let's check this out now. We have 2 good shooters, or some at least with passions. We will need somebody who is capable of social. This is the one thing we are really missing. So what we actually need is somebody with planting. We have no planting and social. So if we could find somebody like this, planting and social, then I think we'd be set. This one, no planting. This one has a 6 and a passion in social. I'm going to pull up him up immediately so I don't forget, and then I'm checking if there's somebody even better than that. Because the greedy trait is one I really don't like. But you can work around it too, so it's not that bad. Incapable of social, 0 in social, and a 0 in social. So if we really do not want to take the addicted one, this is actually our best choice. He does have a 6 in planting, and he will learn social faster, although social, because it's a skill you don't use that much, it takes slower to learn. Now, if you just start out, if it's your first or your second run in Rimworld, don't be afraid to maybe randomize this pawn until you get somebody who is better in social and planting, but for now, I think this would be the starting pawns I would start with. We do have some incapabilities, but they are well compensated. The one incapability I always try to avoid is if somebody's incapable of violence. He has to be a really good pawn for me to pick him, because if you're under attack and you have 3 people and one always runs away from a fight, and so 2 people are left, the only reason I'd pick somebody would probably as like a combat medic or something, so that he can at least use his time during combat to tend to people if he has good medical skills and good other skills. But yeah, he'd have to be a really good pawn for me to compensate for not being able to fight. I think this covered the most important things to know about choosing your starting colonists for the crash landed scenario. Now let me explain what I do different if I pick a lost tribe. Now in a lost tribe, as you can see, you have 5 pawns you can select and 3 you're going to leave behind. So what I'm doing here is actually not choosing pawns, but rejecting pawns. I'm doing more or less the opposite what I did for the crash landed scenario, because I'm basically saying like those 3 pawns I really do not want, and I'm going to run with the rest. So for example, we have health first as usual. If I find somebody with an addiction, he's gone. Asthma is also bad back. Those are also something not really I want. Artery blockage in the heart, no thank you, because they might have heart attacks, and yeah, that just sucks. So I would already exclude those 2 for health reasons. Asthma you can treat. If they are a really good pawn, I might pick them, but Let's see if there's somebody even worse here. Next, I'm actually not looking at the skills, but at the traits. With the tribal start, if I find a trait I really don't want, I don't care about the skills. Because with 5 pawns, you are more likely to have all skills more or less covered than you're not. So let's see of the 6 we still have, if there are some traits I really don't want. Psychopath, body purist. Body purist is not great. Incapable of violence, also not great. So this might be one I'm trying to sort out. Super immune and jealous. Jealous is not a great trait either, but yeah. You just have to get the best bedroom, I guess. Chemical interest is a no for me. That's a hard no. Aesthetic and tough is fantastic. Psychopath, teetotaler is something I also don't like. And gourmand. But if there's one trait of those that I'm excluding is the chemical interest, because they will get addicted. Sooner or later they will take a drug and get addicted, and then you have a whole bunch of new problems. So that's a no. The only thing I'm thinking about now is if actually the asthma might be better than having a teetotaler, because this is the trait I really don't like. Although the psychopath and the cannibal, yeah, okay. So then if I'm wandering between 2 pawns, let's put those together now, then I can choose faster. Then I'm starting to look at the skill sets and see which has the better skill sets, which actually has the skills we need. So, this one has a passion in mining and crafting. And this one also mining, crafting. Yeah, they are pretty much... This one with the asthma has a lot more minor passions. He can be a cook. Although we do seem to have somebody who has a 12 with double passion, so he'll probably not be a cook. Yeah, I probably go with the asthma guy actually, because he has a lot more versatility in what he can do. He's more versatile, so this one, the teetotaler, I would actually exclude. So this is how I go about selecting pawns for a tribal playthrough. As I can see, we have a passion in everyone, but this is just a coincidence. It could have been different, and I'd have to deal with it. There are only 8 of those skills listed anyways, and I think one of the most important ones, which is social, is not even on here. So you might want to check if there's somebody who is capable of who's being a good social pawn. So this is actually a trait we lack, but you can also see the ones we sorted out don't have this either. So yeah, we're going to have to deal with nobody being able to talk to people really. And slow recruitment times, really slow recruitment times. Yeah, but that's how I do it with the tribal start. Next we have the 2 starts with the only one pawn, the Rich Explorer or Naked Brutality. I'm putting them both together because with both you select one pawn, and the things you're looking for is actually quite similar. So for this example, I'm going with Naked Brutality. This is really hard, so if you're new, you might probably not want to start with this. If you have a little bit experience under your belt, you will want to look for the following things. As you can see, you have 8 pawns. The first thing I'm looking for is, again, as with the other starting scenarios, health. You do not want somebody with a bad back. Bite scar is okay. Wooden foot is not okay, so no bad back. No wooden foot, thank you. An itchy stab scar in the head is something I would already be very loath picking, because you can't replace the head, obviously. And combined with him being able, or her being incapable of dumb labor, she's out. She won't be able to clean her own bedroom, and, well, if you're starting with 1 pawn, there is nobody else to do that for you. Next thing, I'm looking for incapabilities. Like this friend here, he is incapable of violence, so, yeah. You don't want to start with somebody who can't do violence, who can't hunt for food and stuff like that. So no, thank you. You also do not want ever want somebody incapable of social, because you can't actually recruit new pawns with that. So you'd have to rely on a wanderer joining or something, and if you start with one pawn, incapable of social is something to avoid. Same, by the way, goes for incapable of medical. If they can't tend to themselves when they're injured, they're going to die. So incapabilities for one pawn are very, very important. No incapable of violent, no incapable of social or medical. Ever. Dumb labor and cleaning also no. And as you can see, we don't have a lot of choices here. Artistic's not that bad. You don't need an artist in the beginning. But what we're stuck with is those two pawns, and you have iron wool, which is actually pretty good, and chemical fascination, slow learner, which means they are learning slower than everybody else's. And as you can see, those choices are both not that great. Let's take a quick look at the age. They are both about the same age. 53 is already like, do I really have to? And now we're looking at our flames. What they can do. She's great at shooting, medical, and intellectual. Not much else. He is capable at shooting, melee, construction, plants, social, and intellectual. A little better. But, and here comes the but, if you start out with the pawn in naked brutality, you are going to have to be able to make yourself some clothes, a weapon, preferably a ranged weapon like a short bow, and or at best be able to build traps. There are some skill requirements for that. For example, if you want to make yourself a short bow to be able to hunt or to defend yourself, you need a crafting skill of at least 2, which this one does not have, and he's a slow learner, so no, thank you. She has a crafting skill of 4, so she will be able to make herself a bow at least. She will be very slow with the construction, and she will also not be able to build traps, so she will have to defend herself with the bow from the first raid. The skill level required for building traps in Rimworld is construction of 3. If she's building her own home and everything, she's going to get there eventually, but not for the first raid, not in time for the first raid. Surviving the first raid is kind of key if you start a naked brutality. She will also take ages to get herself some food planted, but yeah, he won't even be able to build himself a bow. So if I have to choose one of those people, all of those, I would actually have to pick her, and I would not be happy about it. Well, at least she'd be a good doctor to herself, so that's something. But yeah, I would not be happy about that. Yeah, this is somebody you could deal with. The good thing is that she's iron-willed, so she's less likely to have a mental break, which especially if you start on your own and you start with a mental break, you can guess what that means for your colonists. You are defenseless. So yeah, if you have to pick one pawn, the order in which I look at things is a bit different. Health first, incapability second, traits third, and then only then the skills. I hope I could help you with this small guide on, well, not small. I hope I could help you with my guide on choosing starting pawns for different scenarios. If you like what you saw, I'd be happy about a thumbs up or a comment down below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I always answer the comments on my videos. And if you would like to see more of my Rimworld contents, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and bye!